Yes. Good morning in California, good afternoon in Europe, and good evening in Asia. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome two distinguished academics today from South Africa that will share with us their experience in XR, one of our partners, and how it's used for learning, for training, and performing. So first, I would like to introduce Professor Ngowi. He holds a position as the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research at the Central University of Technology, Free State. He was previously Dean and Faculty of Engineering and Information Technology. And he was also, interesting enough, has a degree from Chalmers University, which is the same university in Gothenburg, Sweden, where I took my master's at. So it's very nice to meet him. His research interest is specifically in the area of engineering, built environment, human capital, and the role of universities in the emerging technologies' fourth industrial revolution, as well as for South Africa's sustainable development and circular economy. Welcome, Professor Ngowi. And now the second guest will be Dr. Ben Kotze. Dr. Kotze has a national diploma for master's and doctoral degree in electrical engineering from South Africa. He is registered professionally in several associations, which the South African Institute of Electrical Engineering, where he is a fellow. With 7 years industry experience and over 30 years of tertiary education experience in electrical engineering, which he lectured for more than 23 different subjects. He's now still actively involved with industry and works in integrated learning. So with that, I'm very pleased to welcome you all. So good afternoon in South Africa. Welcome, Doctor. I will call you, if it's okay, Dr. Ngowi, and I'll call you also Ben, if that's fine.
Please do so, Dan. Thank you.
Okay.
And to me, you can call me Alfred.
Excellent. Listen, so first of all, you are been with the university for a longer period, and you have a long experience in education. So I would like to start with the Dr. Ngowi and ask the question: how do you see the last, let's say, 5 years in education? What has changed in South Africa, and what do you see changing in the near future?
Okay, thank you very much, Dan, for that question. You see, if we talk about 5 years, that happens to be a very long time if you compare with 1 year ago. So now, 5 years ago, we had already started seeing that the technology is becoming more and more in the education sector. Because the pedagogies of 800 years ago, they have been superseded. But I would like to say, 1 year ago, it showed so much tremendous change that you cannot recognize that 5 years ago we are talking about trying to use technology. We are forced in the situation now, immediately we are using technology, we are engaging with our students online, and those who are skeptical, they realize there's no other way other than doing technology while you survive. So the pedagogies of online pedagogies are going to be the way of engaging with students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So basically, you saw that we were forced. We went from this esoteric, nice to have future technology to overnight being forced to adopt this technology just to conduct the basic operations due to the terrible consequences of this pandemic. And Dr. Kotze, I want your thoughts on this. So how do you think now, as we hope the pandemic dissipates, as the vaccine becomes more available over time, and we enter in a post-pandemic era, do you think these changes will last, or do you think let's say, in a short period, people will forget and go back to normal? Sorry, Dr. Kotze, I think you're muted. I apologize.
Can you hear me now, Dan?
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry for that.
No problem.
No, with the changes now, I do think, yeah, we're going to stay with it. We had a short period, I don't know if everybody had that experience, where we went back to face again. It wasn't the same. It was a life-changing experience. Everybody wanted to go back to, let's say, almost the comfort zone of teaching face-to-face. But it's here to stay. There's no ways that we're going to change back. If you look at how we address meetings, how we address admin, how we address students, student attendance, student classes, and the way they've adopted to this. Yes, there's a lot of problems to be still solved, but we've come quite a long way this past year. So I see it totally as a mixed reality, mixed type of class, a blended type of learning. There's no ways for us that we can go back to only a face-to-face teaching and learning.
No, I agree fully, and I would even go a step forward because this pandemic created a lot of financial distress among many families and many students, where students barely can afford to pay their tuition fee. And that puts a lot of stress on universities, right, financially. And universities, at the same time, are obliged to teach the technology jobs, which require oftentimes very expensive pieces of machinery. If you want to be a nurse, you need to master an MRI device that costs millions of dollars. You have to master an engine that may cost. So just a little remark for our listeners. When you're not talking, because I hear some noise, if you don't mind muting yourself, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you. Yes. So you have MRI devices that cost money. You have aircraft engine that maybe costs $40 million. So that's impossible to afford. And I think one of the things that I've seen with you in engineering is the use of this XR technology for learning in mechanical engineering, et cetera, where it brings not only, in my opinion, experiential learning, but also the capability to have lower the cost, right, the practical cost, and still keep up the education to the future. So do you agree with this, doctor? And this is a question for any of you. And how do you see this playing out over time?
I think Prof. Ngowi go first.
Okay, then I agree totally with you. Because if you look at the history of education, where we have somebody standing in front of 200 students, and this person is the only one who has the knowledge, and then the students listen to this person, that one has gone. But we still maintain that setup. Because now the person who is standing in front hardly knows everything. He knows a little bit, and all the information is somewhere else. So now, instead of concentrating on the content of what we are teaching students, it's very important to get the skill of what the students are able to go to do. And when you use XR, immediately, the way you are talking to the students, they generate skill. It's no longer the content which we used to give in the past. So with the XR, it actually gives you that benefit that is like you are on the industry to see the real thing, and then you generated the skill from beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. Ben, your thoughts?
Yes, for me it's easy to explain by means of examples, and I'm going to pull it through to agriculture, which is one of the main areas in our central region. Now, there's no ways that you can ask a farmer to milk a cow by just showing it to him and him trying to learn it from videos and pictures. So yes, there is that physical touch, that physical interaction. All of that is necessary. But adding to that, in engineering, there's also no ways that you can get everybody involved in having these physical things. So I can't have 200 cows in my classroom, for instance, and everybody milking that. So it would have been a showing of how it's being done rather by experiencing it themselves. So this is one thing which yes, there's pros and cons to everything, but this is where online and virtual reality and augmented reality became a reality for us, where you can have much more students involved in actually applying and feeling and touching and experiencing these things, which is important. I mean, I can't take away the real engine. I can't take away the real practicals. But at least there's a lot more engagement that we have experience of now, and that the student, and again, the added advantage is not just in the classroom anymore. It is anywhere, anytime, whenever he or she feels like it. Whereas if he had some other business to attend to, he wouldn't have attended class, for instance, and missed out on a class. If they were preoccupied by something that happened at home, now that student could engage with that material, not just what we provide to him in terms of videos and learning material, as we've grown for the past few years as well. I'm not going to take it away, but we can take it even further. And that is my experience, my take. So it's not a standard by in the classroom anymore. It is actually a person that actually participate in a classroom. So that is for me the huge take in where education has moved towards.
Yeah. Now, I really agree with both your comments, especially Dr. Ngowi's comment that, you know, the era when someone lectures and provides his secondhand knowledge about the topic, where we then test secondhand knowledge in a test, where it's a perfectly insulated activity, it's not going to work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. And then the question is, as we have, you can record your best, let's say, lecture on YouTube, and you can ask almost any topic on Google. What is the role of the university? Where is the university playing a role? And in my humble opinion, where I see the university playing is providing the ability for the students to face problems in the disciplines that they are selecting, and then be able to give them the skill set and the ability to solve those problems in an effective way. And that's where the master of the professor and the teacher that has all this expertise, but the students are taking the lead. So, and I think virtual augmented reality can play a very important role there, because it offers that sandbox where they can do those experiments, right? Whether it's running a farm or running a factory. You can't really do that in reality. It's too expensive, but it provides you that ability to experiment and learn. So I think that's a very valuable thing. And I do think the experiential component of this, I do also agree with Ben that it doesn't replace milking a real cow and smelling the cow and feeling the cow is the best experience. Compared, virtual reality is not there, or augmented reality, but that's not the way you should compare it, because you should compare it what you do today in the classroom, which is a PowerPoint, right, of the cow. So if you compare those, it's a bridge between reality and the way you do today. That's the way I see the simulation role, an inexpensive way to do it. Listen, I promise you a surprise, right? So I want to take my surprises early. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can do that. One moment. Technology works. Yeah. You're going to have a little ghost effect for just a second, and that goes over. And then I'm going to move over to this. You know, I just came back from South Korea, and it was fun because I was invited to talk to a lot of heads of states, prime ministers and others, about where this thing is going, right? And you can see my screen, correct?
Yes,
yes,
that's it.
100%.
So we were talking about building the knowledge metaverse, and it was quite humbling to be among all this. I felt like a cat among hermits with all these important leaders. But it was also nice to come out of California and visit another country, which has almost forgot how it feels. And the things we talked about, at least I presented there, had to do with the metaverse, which is this space in which users can interact in a computer-generated environment, and how we can merge those environments between the physical in order to help teaching and learning. and also how to create what we call spatial meetings, which is the ability to teleport yourself to another location and to use this for, in different contexts, but also how we see the campus of today or the future looking, where you still have your physical elements, but then you can add superimpose information. And I think that will not stop there. That will also be used in cities, etc. And then, of course, everybody asks me, that's fine, but what can you do today? And you obviously know about one of the things you can do, because you'll be working with Eon XR. As you know, last month we released a total new product, which I'm not going to go into today, but that enables you to create all these experiences in a very easy way, import your models and bring them to life, etc., etc. And the process that allows you to do it on object level, and then also allows you to do it on a more central level. One thing that's new now, for us at least, is to put this in context of how do you use it to train, for example, MRO for aviation. Here in California, we have some severe problems with power failures because of heat waves. I'm sure you've seen it on the news. But how do you help people in South Africa in the skill capability with respect to tools, or how do you prevent the next COVID lab leak with safety proximity warning and alert? So the idea is how you merge the academia and enterprise in one. That's one thought. And then the next thought is that, okay, so how do you use this in manufacturing, right, to prevent injuries? We think that that's an important one. Or in the medical sector, how do you decrease the stress and anxiety with kids, pediatric patients using XR when they undergo the MRI I was talking? Or how do you design? I know the Vice Chancellor is in the area, has a degree in civil engineering and among others. And how do you design for safety and security? So those are the questions that we are posing and solving, I think, with the new one. But here's my surprise. So this is all news for you. But here's the news. While XR is going from physical to digital, so you create a digital version of, now what we are doing with this new version, a new product, is we are bringing digital to physical. So our real world becomes illuminated with rich digital data. So your cow, going to example, and the farm will have the knowledge. So what does that mean? So I am in this room, you see me now, so I can easily with my phone scan the room, and I'll show you how to do it. Any phone can do it. And then I can annotate my real world. I can bring that world then to the first stop was going to be here. Do a guide in the farm, or in this case, the room, either a miniature version of that, or instead of doing that, you do a full room. Like you see here, I scale this to the fullest extent. And then instead of pointing in that environment, I'm actually pointing in the real environment. Polishing stuff. So in fact, what you're looking at there is what you see there, that bread basket that you see. So it's real. The first stop was going to be. So that's interesting to merge reality in that way, in my humble opinion. And to do that, all you have to do is to scan the world. And that used to be a big problem, but now it's not. So while you can see that doing there, what's fun is that I've scanned a lot. So you can see different scans of different environments. And the way to do it, if you can see me, I think you see a small version. You can just click here and create your scan. I'll show you a little bit later. So once you have your scan, you can then have a digital twin. In this case, it's a boiler. It's my boiler. I match the digital twin with a physical environment. So I use 3 or 4 points, as you see there. And then I overlay the digital twin that I just scanned in minutes to the physical environment. So now they are superimposed, and then I can make the digital twin invisible, and suddenly all my lesson creation that I did appears in reality. So this gives you that tangible thing. And this will help you with a lot of things. One of the things that you saw there is what we call proximity sensor. And that provides you the ability to do this. Track your location. So what happened there is I went too close because it knows where I am because I hold the phone in my hand, and it warns me for that situation. And then in this environment, I can also add a number of knowledge portals. So the creation of the various, let's say, annotations and videos, etc., we are using artificial intelligence to auto-generate that. So we don't have to do it manually. Obviously, as you may understand, this has a lot of implications. You can, whether you use it for maintenance repair of a boiler or information technology or transportation, repairing a car or manufacturing processes, or as you well pointed out, agriculture. So here is an area where it gives me guidance, which plants of this orchid, that's actually my wife's orchid little garden here in the backyard. And she has a lot of orchids, and so she did an instruction to the gardener when we are not home, how to water the various orchids. But this can also be used for social science. Things like, for example, civic duties. This is a scan of the center of the little town that I live in. There it talks about, you know, different virtues that you have as a citizen. So it's only your imagination, in my humble opinion, that can give you, but the stop for this. But I think, especially safety and security, I mean, I'm thinking about South Africa mining safety, just to use one term. And so that's one. And then the other one is the teleporting capability. So, you know, I'm a geek of Star Trek. I don't know if you've seen this series where you have the ability to beam yourself, beam me up, Scotty. So teleport myself to Stellenbosch in South Africa or whatever. And then in that environment, explore, discover, converse by walking around and interacting in that environment. So what I did just that with Spatial. So Spatial allows you to do that. So invite someone. So it's like XR meetings, but with full avatars. And they can now look at what I am and actually walk around in my physical environment. So my CTO immediately went to my computer and start checking out my files because he can go anywhere. He's walking around at home in that environment. A good example of that is someone helped me. I had issues with my internet. So here's a situation where I scan my room in seconds. So you can see here the scan. And literally, you see how fast the scan works, right? And then I got the copy of my room. Then I put my room, I inject all the knowledge in that room, all the annotations. And then I invite my friends. In this case, let's go there. And we have the HMI. That's Jan Kellstrom. I don't know if you've met him.
Okay, I see them now.
More to the right, they have the HMI extended set.
This is so cool. I see you. I see you now.
This is the blue cable. I have 5 cables up here. The last one is yellow one. Yep, it looks correct.
How does it feel to be in my room, although you are in Sweden, Linda? Yeah, I must admit this is a very unusual experience. I think we are one of the first in the world that can do this with a phone. Just a phone and our software. We're able to recreate the room, interact, look under the cables, help each other out. I bet this will be very useful.
I think it's absolutely awesome. It feels like I'm in your room, but I'm actually on the other side of the planet.
This is what we call spatial.
I'm in your room, but I'm on the other side of the planet. And of course, you can capture small objects and use that for teleporting. So you see the boiler room now is teleported to a park, and I can explore it, and you can show me. Or you can capture for agriculture section of an environment. So this is a section of a part, or let's say a section of a house. This is a Korean house, right? Or if I have some culture heritage, I can capture a section of, in this case, a staircase in Korea, or special statues or what have you. But then, of course, you want to teleport the whole environment. What I mean by that, in the left side here, is that I took a scan, it took me probably 3 minutes, of a whole street in Korea. So now I start I came back home and I wanted to share that experience with my colleagues. So how the flowers look, I couldn't smell them, what kind of cigarettes the guys smoke on the street, and be fully immersed in this environment, talk with people, although I am on the other side of the planet. And of course, this can be done very realistic if you want. This is also travel back in time. So this is Catalonia in Spain. And I'm walking physically, although I am on my veranda in this house. I'm holding the phone and I can look under the bed and I can see anything I want. And this can be not limited just to a room. This can be also extended to whole buildings or factories or hospital environments, whatever you want to scan. And then the fun part is that, and this is kind of where the leading edge is at the moment, is to combine California, the sofa is in California, and the background around me is like the holodeck. I am 100 years back, so this is 2021 in a sofa in California, but when I hold my phone, look around, I'm actually in Catalonia in 1921. So you can see that when I put transparency, that you can see that I'm not really in this room, right? I'm actually physically walking around in my living room. So this provides you the teleporting capability for full environments, not just limited to an object or a section of an object. So you can see there that the best images, I think here, 1 second. 1 second. I think it's about in 3 seconds you'll see the full environment come to bloom. Oh, there you go. So there you see actually how it looks. 1 second. There. So you can see that that's the sofa. You can see the shelves. And now when I click on this button, boom, I'm keeping some of the elements from my present reality and mixing with the other one. Anyway, so here's my surprise. We are launching a global competition. Okay, to build the knowledge metaverse, and we are targeting 10 million experiences in 12 months. And of course, you as a global partner will be invited to participate, to scan your own experiences from your own areas in your own context, whether from the Free State, right? So just to, and the journey has already begun. And for example, you can see that here, if you go to YouTube, if you want to get a little bit inspiration, you can see a couple of examples. I'll just do that, and then I want your take on it. So go to Eon's Eon Reality website or YouTube channel. Click on that. Click on YouTube videos. And you can see here various experience. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, you can see Kimironko Market in Rwanda, or you can see Italy, or you can see what they are doing in different locations in Singapore or Malaga, or just in the last 3 weeks, there's been a flood of experiences, learning experiences that are being created from around the globe. And I can't wait to see what you can produce from your side. Okay, sorry, that was a long monologue, but I'll stop sharing the screen now. And I want your thoughts. What do you think about this? And how do you think this could apply for your university? Thank you.
Dan, this is very exciting. I don't know if everybody really respect to what you are doing, because I'm doing these type of research, and doing something like this would took me 3 to 4 months, and creating something like that. So for me, it's awesome. A direct application for us to look at this would be wonderful experiences of our history, of our region, that could transpired in tourism, could be taken to all over the world, where not many people would have appreciated what we are experiencing here in the wonderful South Africa. So now for me, it's a great opportunity. I'll definitely have a little bit more people involved, which thought it's only engineering or health science or a managerial system. This could be used everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And before we go to the Vice Chancellor, just a comment. We are all Africans. Our journey started 70,000 years ago in Africa, and most probably in South Africa. So yes, you are sitting on the most important spot of the world. And to tell that story by visiting and teleporting us to those locations will be amazing. My hobby, by the way, is not engineering and computer science, it's archaeology. So I would love, this is also stretching all the way to anthropology, to capture some of the caves that I think they discovered recently where there were activities where probably our DNA comes from. So wonderful ideas. But I also think the practical things, going back to your cow, I like the cow example, to capture the farm, right? To capture the hospital, and not spend 3 weeks to model it, but do it in minutes. I think that's something, that speed makes it fun, makes it accessible. And I think that it was one of the obstacles we faced in the past. So thank you for that. And now I'm very keen to hear the Vice Chancellor's thoughts and comments. Thank you.
Okay, then I think this is a very wonderful opportunity, because at the CUT, we have what we call the Center for Global Engagement. And the purpose of that one is to give our students global competencies, so that when they graduate, they're able to fit wherever they are going to work. Because we don't believe they are going to stay in South Africa throughout their lives. But one challenge which we have now, you cannot take all students outside South Africa in order to experience other cultures. So now, by teleporting, I see how it is going to solve that problem. You have a student at home, but you expose them to Korea. They see the streets of Korea. They see how people live in Korea. You expose them to Malaga. They see what the Malaga people look like. What do they eat? So really, I'm picking this one. I'm going to talk to the director, our director of global engagement, and he must embrace this immediately. So that we expose our students as much as possible to other things by using this technology.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, I think you point on something that's extremely important, because I believe that the role of going to a university is not only getting your skills in a specific discipline, but also to get a direction for a purposeful life, right? Because we have now choices, and I can always look at the dark side of technology that brings terrible things, like TikTok and Facebook and dividing social media, or weapon system using virtual reality to do bad things against other people, right? So you can see that. And you can see how this actually has created a lot of havoc in our society. I mean, just take social media, for example, how the terrible divide that led into our country to 6th of December to attack the Capitol building, and the fake news and the ignorance. So that's the darkness. But then I can see the light. And I think that's where university can play a very big role, right? To awaken the 4 years old in me. Because when I was 4 years old, they dropped me by the playground. The first thing I did, I looked at the earth, I pulled my finger in the earth, and I started looking at it, I tasted it, I was curious. There is something about us humans that intrinsically is exciting and curiosity, right? So I want to inspire the students to plan the next trip to Mars, to explore new DNA technology to prolong life, to visualize the global warming solutions, right, for that we need so badly, or to help with the next efficient agriculture. So that's where you inspire, because in the end of the world, I would say this: there's very few places on Earth today where there's famine, when people don't have enough to eat. Okay, there are some places, and mainly it's humanly driven. Like, for example, recently in Ethiopia, there's very few places where people have nowhere to sleep. Most people may have a simple shack or something, but they have somewhere, right? And quite a lot of places have some type of education and some type of healthcare. It may be very rudimentary, but it exists. So, in fact, being big or fat is a sign of a low social standard. So if you said this in the Middle Ages, people will laugh at you, right? Because there was not enough food. Now, So what I think the politicians' roles and our roles is not to give them more material things necessarily, because when I was a little boy, I had a gramophone, I had a TV, I had a flashlight, I had lots of stuff. All this material stuff have dissolved. They don't exist anymore. They're all in this one thing that 4 billion people have. So the value of the physical assets is going down, and the value of the virtual assets and the experiences is going up. So what I think the role, and sorry for my long monologue because I'm passionate about this, is how can we inspire people and drive them to have a purposeful life? And it doesn't have to be, to be next to Elon Musk, right? It can be to do a decent farm that's ecologically safe. It can be to organize my community in a way that for good things, right? To build friendship, because I'm 60 now, almost 59. And if I look at what really gives me joy and pride in life, it's not, being California and driving Ferraris. I don't own a Ferrari, but it's not the material things. It's what I've done where we leave this earth a little bit better than we came. So I think I want your perspective in South Africa, where I know you're going to a lot of turmoil and a lot of issues, practical issues that are very tough. So I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this and how you think, what the solution is, and not necessarily just involving XR, but in a broader sense, if we leave XR behind us. Thank you.
Dan, I could use a simple example again. When I was a kid, they've explained to us there's a television going to come up on the horizon, and we needed to have a monologue on is it good or is it bad. And I promise you back then, almost 90% of the children said back then, TV is going to be bad for you. You're not going to stay in school. You're not going to do this and that. So that is my take on technology. We have to embrace it. We have to learn from the past, and we have there to be guidance or mentors with this technology and show people how to use it properly. So that's my view. If there wasn't people guiding me in how to use a television set, I probably would have stayed playing avatar games in front of it. So that is the idea and a take on that. The second point is I think it's challenging. I won't have an answer for you today. I think history has taught us that we are ever changing and even faster than before. So today's good isn't going to be tomorrow's bad, and vice versa. So I think we've got the advantage and a very exciting future for us ahead, where we can use any technologies, teach students, fellow colleagues, mates, researchers, what to take from what to be good and what is bad. That is my take on it. I do believe technology is there to be embraced. Everybody that knows me at CT will always joke about myself having the smallest cell phone and then later the biggest one. So that's my take on technology.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Vice Chancellor, tell us.
Then I think you pointed a very important aspect here, that the issue of ownership. Yeah. Where you find a place like in South Africa, people are not sure that things will be there tomorrow. So now they take advantage today to hold as many as possible. You find somebody in a family of about 5 cars when there are 2 people in the family. You find that there are several other things which everybody wants to own, and if you look, they're not to be used. But using technology, it brings the element of sharing, because the ecosystem allows that you get what you want at any time. There's no question about that one. If I need a transport, it will be there. So I don't have to buy a car. If I need a hotel, it will be there. Then I don't have to build several houses in different parts of the world. So now it gives us opportunity for circular economy, where we say now we share what can be shared, and then at the end of the day we recycle it, and then it becomes so sustainable around the world. So now technology is allowing us to do exactly that, because Without technology, then you say, if I don't buy a car, I'll not be able to move from one point to another. So I need a car for moving down. I need another car to go out of town. But now with technology, you just need maybe a card, and the cars are there anytime you want. It will take you where you want, and you can go back at any time. So my take on technology is that is the beginning now of the bright future.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And what's interesting about Africa, I had the pleasure to visit various countries, maybe 60 different locations, or 60 times, I should say, in different locations. And one thing that astonished me the last 4 years or 3 years is that everybody has a mobile device. Even if I went to Zimbabwe in a very remote corner, I was astonished that they had not one phone, but 2 phones. I was like, wow, what's going on here? And they didn't have the cheap Chinese ones that most people have here, but they have the expensive ones. I was like, wait a second, this gentleman lives in a shack and he has 2 phones. And what that does, in my humble opinion, is opportunity to leapfrog. So the same reach journey that it took, I don't know, for UK in Manchester with the industrialism, maybe 100 years to go from poor to rich, then took a little shorter for the Japanese and a little shorter for the Chinese, right? Is down to 20, 30 years. We'll have an opportunity for Africa in general, and South Africa being the leading country to do it, assuming we have political stability and good education. With those 2 elements, I think we can do wonders. And I truly believe, and that's one reason I'm spending so much time in Africa, that you are the next continent. You're gonna go through the same journey, and you are doing it. South Africa is already well on the way, although there are challenges. So I think, and I think the solution there is things like technology and liberating people to do their own thing, right? And one thing I see in Africa that I don't see so much in some other countries, like, for example, Singapore, it's very structured, very organized, is entrepreneurship. You have that spirit. You have that in that I see that people are doing their little things with the limited resources they have. So and of course, you cannot say Africa because Africa is so vast. So it's a big difference between North Africa, South Africa, West, East. I acknowledge all that. But still, if you look at it as a continent, it's, and I think you, in South Africa, can play a very important role to lead, to show some of the younger countries how to do this journey. So I hope, and that's why I'm so encouraged when I hear this global initiative. And you, so I think we can together play a role in this journey. And I have a little other surprise. In September, we are doing a EON Experience Fest. It's a global fest. And invite all our friends from around the world. This is physical. Now, we hope and keep our fingers crossed that COVID allows us to do it. Otherwise, we have to push it out. But right, it looks quite good. So I hope that you are able to visit us. And there's 2 days of speeches, not from me, but from partners from around the world. We'd like you to invite you also to have a speech there. But there's also group settings where you can be part of whatever group you want, whether it's a discipline or it's a region, right? So I think you can meet also a lot of our fellow global leaders and also friends from Africa, for example. So that's an invitation. We'll make a formal invitation to you, to both of you to join if you can. So your thoughts on the role of what South Africa can play for the region and the continent, and what do you see? That's first part of the question. The second part of the question is, if we were to meet 2031 and have this session again, what is it? How? And you tell me about what you're doing at the university. Walk me through what happens in a daily life and how is it different from today? I know that the second question is complicated, but let's give it a try.
Okay, let me start this one.
Yes, please.
Okay, then like you said, when it came down to emerging technologies, I think our president has taken a lead because he started a commission for the fourth industrial revolution to make sure now that Africa is not going to be left behind this revolution as it was left in the first, second, and the third. In those days, we were spectators, but this time we are going to be active players. So as a result of that now, there is a commission where now the various technologies are being rolled out. For example, artificial intelligence is being made that it becomes a common person technology. So we are teaching artificial intelligence village so that it can understand what can it do to me. And we are using 3D printing to make sure that we take to school so that the next generation already knows we are going to use 3D printing to carry out the work.
Yeah.
So the president has gone even beyond that by knowing South Africa alone cannot compete with China or America or European Union. So now there is an initiative for getting SADC countries, the SADC countries, and also through Africa Union to have Africa embracing the fourth industrial revolution technology. So there is a commission which is working that to make sure that there is that union going together. So what, like you say now, once you put education, you embrace the technology, the only thing we need is the political stability.
Yeah.
And then when we meet in 2031, what I'm going to be able to tell you is what happens in California is exactly what is happening in Africa. Because we need now to leap forward all those stages which pass there. We are going to have 5G, like you have 5G in California. So there is no reason why California should be different from Bluefoot. So that's my view of how it is going to move. Thank you.
I really like that. And before I go to Ben, let's do something. We don't have to wait to 2031. Let's arrange a session next year, 2022, at your university, where we invite our friends from Rwanda, from Ethiopia, from Ghana, from Togo, from all around, where we can share, and also you can show your progress and have really hands-on discussion and hands-on instructions of what method works, what doesn't work, what can we do better. And I would love to be part of that and help you host it and get a lot of people. So I think if we can think about this, and we don't have to decide today, but I would really like to see that. Because of 1 year from now, you have a lot under your belt and a lot of experience. So that's just a thought. Ben.
Dan, we as South Africans are very friendly people, and I think that is maybe the campus life that is missed the most. As I've told you, I can't tell you that there's a day-to-day life because there's limited students on campus, limited lecturers on campus. So for us, that's a huge factor. But what I can envision or see for the future when we are back on campus is that people sharing, like we see in Instagram, like we've shared jokes on WhatsApp and WeChat, how people are going to share new knowledge being gained by these different platforms, by these different things, how they've set up this, how they've changed this, what they could show there, what they could show in the cafeteria as a joke, the food that they are selling, for instance. Those are the things which I foresee as South Africans, as our university, our campus, to be changed and look like coming up when students and lecturers do return with such technology. Just my take on it.
And what about 2031?
2031, if you look at the news, everybody flying, I wonder how we're going to do that with goggles. So my take is that we're up for a big jump. We're up for a big leap. What's happening every day, I saw what Richard Branson have done 3 days ago. So I think it's mind-boggling. I think it's very exciting. 31, I think devices in terms of the feel, what we're going to see, I would have liked to develop. You talked about smell. There's new developments in smell these days. I'm excited to see if I can smell it on my device. And then take away the goggles, for instance, take away the other stuff so that you have other haptic sensing feedback and 3D vision. I think that is, in other words, more real life without all of the devices connected to us. I foresee something like that maybe as a future.
Yeah, excellent. No, I fully agree, and we share that vision. I asked the same question to most vice chancellor, whether it's for big American universities or Academy Award winner for the gentleman that did Matrix. I interviewed him, or the CEO of Viveport, which is one of the Viveport content, which is one of the largest headsets in the world. And not long ago, the vice chancellor of West Indies, and she has 15 different universities in the Caribbean. And she said, how's going to be 2031? I said, Dan, we're going to be at the beach. The lessons will be at the beach. And I will be in my swimsuit, and we do start with yoga for 30 minutes on the beach with the students in a relaxed environment, because that's our culture, right? And then we can have anything there. We can have, the particle accelerator and talk about quantum physics, right? Or we can, like Aristotle and, did with back in the Greece, they were out indoors, and they were, so that was her vision. And then we're going to teleport. So I was asked the same question in Korea, and I said, listen, 2031, I'm by the fireplace with my grandchildren, okay? And they going to ask me, Granddaddy, how was it back then in 2021? And I say, grandchildren, it was pretty primitive. Experiences were kind of limited to a frame that at 24 seconds, it was a primitive version of YouTube, and you were enslaved to whatever that person wanted to capture. You couldn't move right, you couldn't move left, you couldn't look behind you, you were stuck. So grandfather, do you mean that you didn't have spatial environments where you capture the whole, and you can walk and you couldn't teleport yourself? No. Wow, that was bad. That was primitive. And then I say, wait a second, stop. That doesn't have to be 2031. We can do it today. We can do exactly what I just said today. Okay, may not be as fancy and slick as the first pictures I showed you, but they definitely are the second. The only thing that stops us is us. So if we today make a pledge as a community, and this is what I'm working for and burning for, and I hope to dedicate the rest of my life, to do that, to encapsulate and illuminate the world by doing projects. And I think this is the best way to learn, by the way. If I want to learn about nursing, what better than to send my school kids to a hospital and capture that and learn, create an encapsulation experience that he can share with peers. So I think it hits many birds with one stone. That's kind of my thought. And I think that hits also the other things with purposeful life, sharing what I'm passionate about, etc. So I hope we can start this competition very soon together with you. And I'm so curious to see the first experience that come out from your university and what the students pick. And I was so surprised because in Rwanda, the students went to the market, the fruit market, and they created scans of these fruits and superimposed them. And I mean, so much creativity. And I learned more about Rwanda in that experience than I've learned from my visit there. Because they showed me a part of Rwanda. I saw the hotel and the airport and, the nice conference room, but I didn't see that. That's what interested me. So anyway, I could go on and we can go on, but I promise you that this is a 1 hour. And I would like to have the final round in the last 6 minutes of questions to you. So, I know that this is a 60-minute session, but tell me, Vice Chancellor, if I wake you up at 4 a.m. in the morning, the suicide hour, and I ask, what's on your mind and what keeps you up at night? What would that be? And how do you think to address it? And this doesn't have to do anything with XR but this has to be professionally speaking with your university today. What are the main concerns and where do you see the main solutions? Are you muted again?
Yes. Okay. The bigger concern is success of our students. Because like you say, we owe them tools which they are going to be our leaders in the next generation. So every time we think, are we giving them enough so that they are better off than we are in this generation. So that one way of trying to do that is now to make sure that we look around the world. We partner with the best people, with the best technologies which are coming in, so that we are not lagging behind. So that we can say confidently, in our generation, we are giving everything which is possible. So that we prepare you for your next generation. That's why we're working with you, Dan. You're expert in Excel. We are working with MIT. They're expert in a different thing. So that the best which we can give, we are giving to the students for their success.
Wonderful. Is that type of leadership, vision, and execution that makes me so optimistic about Africa and South Africa, specifically in your university. And I can tell you, Vice Chancellor, that we're extremely honored to be selected to be part of that journey for you. And I will do whatever we can to make sure that this is very successful. So both of us, when we retire, we leave this world a little bit better than when you came. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you. And then Ben, I guess the geeky perspective now.
No, then I like examples again, and I still have two wonderful friends. Both of them are dentists, and in the 80s, the one dentist friend was immaculate. He was the best dentist ever because nobody felt him putting in a syringe in the mouth. He could talk you through it. He was the ideal dentist. Everybody loved him. But after 3 years, one of his dentures fell out or something like that. Then I had another friend. He was an awesome dentist, but nobody liked him because he hurt you, he struggled, but his dentures never fell out. And both of them were my friends. What is the lesson for me now? I can wake up this morning and I can say I provided my students, which have got, both of them are dentists. They are the best dentists ever. But the perception is different. The way they've learned is different. And now we are creating an environment where we have maybe the next Einstein, which didn't have that opportunity. Imagine if he was seen as an Einstein while still is in its teens. That is my take, my view, where the world could have been if they are given the chance. So that's the exciting thing for me. This is what we're trying in improvising, getting our students, which are so vastly different, teaching them differently and gaining and working for us, because at some stage I'm going to be a pensioner and I want somebody to be my engineer, and I don't want to fall from the sky. I don't want to have bricks landing on my face. I don't want to have my motor vehicle break down 10 times to the garage. And that's my take on it. So I'm very exciting. I'm very exciting. And I think it's, I think if I take your grandchildren as an example, they don't believe the exciting times they are in as well.
Absolutely. And what a better way between the Vice Chancellor yourself now to end this discussion on this high note. 3 engineers that are passionate about what they do in different aspects of life and different continent. But one thing, I would like to meet you face to face very soon. So as soon as this pandemic dissipates enough, I promise to pay you a visit. I hope meanwhile that things allow for you to visit us in the end of September. And let's continue not only the dialogue, but as engineer, execution, right? Execution is what's required. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for your time. All the best. Okay, take care now. All the best. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.